Once upon a time, the animal kingdom was a society not unlike our own. There were those who worked for themselves, those who worked for others, and those who others worked for. This, my friends, is the tale of a master and his servant, the tortoise and the rat. In this story, the tortoise was well renowned as one of the most bountiful farmers of yam in the community. Because of his notoriety, as well as the profits he made from selling his goods, he became one of the richest men in the village, owning a lavish residence at the eastern sector, as well as being the master of many a servant. Here in his residence, he lived with one of his servants, the rat, who was in charge of taking care of the house. One day, he went to the residence of his good friend, the snail, who was also of great wealth, with his house located at the opposite side of the village. Good afternoon, my brother.
Ah, good afternoon. Please, take a seat. What's wrong? You seem to be in a bad mood.
My friend Mr. Snail, you will not believe what I just went through. Just this afternoon, I arrived home from the farm to eat my lunch, when my servant Rat was already preoccupied with entertaining a guest of his own. That resident village glutton, the lizard. So I told Rat to serve me my food, to which he did. But then, he also served that his friend. Would you believe that the food that he gave that snake with legs was almost twice as much as what he gave me? What nonsense! I had to warn Rat not to make such a mistake again. He's becoming too generous with my property, and I suspect he's taking me, as well as his position as the caretaker of my house, for granted. What do you think? The snail pondered for a moment.
My friend, don't be too rash. This is the first time it has happened, isn't it? All you need to do for now is warn him not to do it again. I, on the other hand, will talk to the lizard's master about it.
Don't bother, Mr. Snail. Lizard may be a glutton and a busybody, but he's probably one of the most hardworking people I know. I've seen him run errands swiftly day in and day out. Then again, it's probable that the only reason he does his job so well is so that he has more time to gossip with other servants and eat more food. And you won't even see it in his body that he eats as much as he does. The fact that his master used to pamper him sometimes doesn't help matters. There's no point trying to talk to them about it.
Well, I suppose you are right. But you will keep an eye on the rat, right?
Of course! I don't want his Father Christmas act driving me to poverty. And with that, the tortoise exchanged more pleasantries and went on his way. At this time, the rat had been seeing a woman, another rat, whom he sought to wed in the nearest future. Anytime his master was away, He would go out and visit his beloved, and the two would exchange stories and gifts. It came to a point that this servant allowed his affection for this woman to get to his head. Often, he would boast to his bride-to-be of his importance in the tortoise's household. That tortoise may call himself my master, but I am the true head of the house. I take care of everything that pertains to it, including the old fool himself. He couldn't clean his own shell without me. And often, as a sign of his affection for his partner, he had begun to make food for her to eat. However, as time went on, he became bolder in his ambitions to impress the object of his fancy. He had begun to take from his master's yam cellars to give to his bride.
These are some beautiful yams. But don't these belong to your master? What if he finds out?
Don't worry about that, my dear. Why would I have a bride and not make sure she enjoys the fruits of my labor? Besides, he has plenty more yams than one can eat in a year. He won't miss them. In fact, he might not even notice. And it went on like this for quite some time. Whenever the tortoise left the house to the farm or to the snail's house, the rat would rush through his chores before running off to his bride, with parcels of his master's yam in tow. They would exchange sweet nothings and songs and jokes, with the rat often bragging about how he was the master of the house and how much of a fool his master was. However, as the days went by, the tortoise observed that his storage rooms appeared to have become more spacious than before. Something seemed very wrong. Then one night, sleep eluded the tortoise, so he decided to go to the living room to get some fresh air. But then, the next day, the tortoise went to the snail's house and told him what had been observed over the past few days, including the parcel of yam he found in his couch. Suspecting that the rat was the one behind his disappearing yam, they devised a plan to catch him red-handed. The following day, the tortoise told the rat that he was leaving for another village to help prepare a birthday party for a relative of the snail's. The rat then told this to his bride, and thus they planned that together, while the tortoise was away, they would raid the yam store to their heart's content. On the day of departure, the tortoise sent the rat on one last errand before seemingly going on his way. But as the rat left, the tortoise snuck back into the house and hid in a guest room, where he camped out, waiting for the thief to make their move. Sure enough, the rat and his bride had arrived a few days later and began to pack the yams in the store in parcels. But as they were about to leave, the tortoise came out of his hiding place and confronted the two thieves for their crimes. In fear and shame, the two rats dropped their precious cargo and ran away from the village, making their home in a burrow at the outskirts. Meanwhile, the tortoise and the snail decided after this that they would no longer keep servants. So they dismissed and settled their servants, and gave out all their possessions and riches, including their houses. From then, henceforth, the tortoise and the snail adopted a nomadic lifestyle, carrying only the barest essentials on their backs. And that is how it has been until this very day.